Hello, everyone. It's good to see you this evening. Welcome, one and all, for those that have been able to join in. I wanted to wait for others to join, but it's 5 minutes past time, and we will not wait any longer. So anybody that's not here with us, we join us later. It is a pleasure for me to be facilitating this section, one out of so many that will come. And like you saw the flyer that went out, it's just an opportunity to familiarize ourselves with the new, and I'll describe it as soon to come opportunities that's available to us here in the UK, particularly with the Brexit that's going to happen on the 1st of January 2020. So as something to focus on is just a kind of overview of the process that one might want to take to accomplish our ambition to practice here in the UK, some kind of practical hacks about different routes that is available. As a word of introduction to our housekeeping, you have been muted just so that we don't have interference in the sound effects from several background where we are all tuning in. You will have opportunity to pose your questions using the chat functions, and your question will be addressed at the end of the section. These sections will be recorded and subsequent others so that it will be made available to those that need it. So like I said, if you need it at the end of the section, just an email away and it will be made available to you. We're going to go through a few things. First of all, we'll just have a kind of reflection on the new immigration rule that's going to take effect after Brexit, that's going to be concluded on the 31st of December this year. The implication is that we're going to have a point-based system. And I'm going to take us through the implication for different healthcare professionals, as each of you might be a member of one. And then we go through the implication for our spouses, for those of us that are married or family members. And then we take questions. Unfortunately, this introduction webinar may not benefit immensely some group of individuals who have gone several steps ahead of others. I'm aware that some of you who are attending may have registered or have gotten licensed, and some of you may have written several parts of the exams. Some of them may have even gotten visas. So it is not some kind of detailed webinar on some specific things, but then your concerns or your question will be addressed, your specific questions will be addressed at the end when we have time to do that. We will have subsequent seminar or subsequent webinar that will address in details each specific profession and each specific task routes, and that's we did. Provide a detail and address all the things that each and every one of us will be needed. Our target, my group and I, we aim to make sure that each and every person that come our way is provided with all the guidance, the details of the guidance on all possible fastest and most convenient, and I would say tailored approach or route that best suits each and every one of us, because we know our preferences, and yes, our preferences differ. We start off with the new immigration rule. We are well aware of the Brexit independence vote that took place in 2016. And the UK voted to leave the EU, but the process to leaving the EU had been a kind of Royal Rumble wrestling, I would say. It's like a marriage between a husband and a wife. They still loved each other, but then love is not good enough to maintain the relationship. So the UK people voted to leave the EU. So it had been a roller coaster since 2016 for the separation process or the divorce process to happen. And finally, it's coming to effect on the 31st of December. The implication is that there will be a new point-based immigration system replacing the old system whereby EU nationals and people from New Zealand and other affiliate nations who are recognized under the EA system are treated as UK nationals. The implication or what that has for us coming from Africa or from other country that's not part of the EU is that whatever opportunity arises, people from the EU or from Switzerland or from other affiliate nations, Australia, are treated first and foremost, so that less and less opportunity were available for us, and that put us at a very high disadvantage. But then with this new point-based system, what has happened is that other countries apart from UK are categorized equally as people from Africa and other nations that were a priori not part of the EU, such that when there are opportunities, we are given favorable, fair chance to compete with every other person outside the UK. The implication is that a new points-based immigration system is now in place, such that now it is possible to apply for a skilled work visa. And then the criteria that is required has been lowered. Now, two things has worked to our advantage. One is the Brexit. The second one is the coronavirus. Whenever I discuss with my friends, I'll say the new normal. There is no one here in the UK that even know what the new normal is going to be, because things are changing rapidly. Even guidelines are having in place. No one will know exactly what the guidelines are. So for some of you that are in the process of registering or have friends who have just licensed, you understand that a whole lot of things are changing. So what does the new point-based system entails? And for us who are health professionals, the implication is that almost all the health professionals are qualified for this skilled worker program, unlike many who were not qualified because of the entry-level salary that you need to earn before the new rule, which was more than £30,000. At the moment, it has been lowered to 25,100 something in that region, and all the healthcare professionals earn above that. But much more importantly, also, there is a healthcare worker visa, which makes it much easier for healthcare professionals to immigrate. So in addition to the skilled worker visa, healthcare professionals are treated much better in the visa application process. So under the healthcare worker system, there is the under the skilled workers visa, there is a healthcare worker visa. There is also the global talent visa for some of us who might want to go the route. If one goes through the route of the health workers visa, which is part of the skilled worker visas, you have to stay up to 5 years to get your permanent residence. But if you go through the global talent visa, you have to stay only 4 years to get your permanent residence. But again, if you go through the Tier 4 visa, that lasts, which is still available, you have to stay on to 10 years for you to get your permanent residence. But the good thing is, UK has reintroduced the 2 years post-study visa, which was scrapped when the Conservative came into power in 2010. So at the moment, We have 2 years for undergraduate and master's program, and 3 years post-study visa for PhD students. The third is the Nursing and Midwifery Council, which regulates the nurses and the midwives. Again, IELTS is a compulsory requirement for you to start the process. And for the nurses, you need to score an overall score of 7.0 and 7.6 in writing and 7 in other areas. Alternatively, you can write the occupational exams, or occupational English tests, which require you to at least score a C+ grade in the writing, or at least a B, and at least a B in other 3 components of reading, listening, speaking, and reading section. So once you are done with that, you submit your documents, undergraduate documents, your clinical log hours, and all that for eligibility assessment. And then once eligibility assessment is conducted and you are eligible to go, you go for the first exam. 2 exams are required for the first exam. For most nurses, usually go through maybe the agency or the NHS and all that. So you necessarily just need to pass the CBT before coming and then write the practical one, which is the objective clinical exam here, maybe after 2 months. But with the transition in COVID, like I say, a whole lot of things at the moment transition. They have been given a whole lot of months, not just the 2 months that was there at the very beginning. So that's the professional route for nurses. Also, I have had friends, lots of colleagues, and all other people we have helped in the past who have come in to do a master's and doctorals or even postdoctoral fellowship, and they have obtained their licenses and go into their profession, with practicing without having to wait in Nigeria to go through the processes. The next will be the allied health professions, and categorized under allied health profession are the physiotherapists, the occupational therapists, the radiographers, the speech therapists and audiologists, and those in social work. And the professional council that regulates these professionals is the Health and Care Profession Council, HCPC. For these individuals, if any one of us has been involved in the process sometime in the past, English language is a compulsory requirement. They still state that English language is a compulsory requirement, but we have been engaging with them, and in the recent past, we've had a way to argue our case that we are from a Commonwealth and we are English-speaking country, and they've had to put some clause that if you can prove that English language is your first language, unlike what they had before, itemizing country that they are set at the moment. And I would say for majority of persons who are well informed about this, English language is no longer a requirement, so long as you can prove that you are educated you speak English as your first language and you're educated in English-speaking country. And by God's grace, we're having our way. But if you don't fall within this category, you have to write English language academic IELTS overall score of 7, a minimum of 6 in all the bands. If you are in the other profession apart from speech therapy and audiology, which have to score up to 8 overall on 7 for speech, 7 each of the elements. Or alternatively, they also accept TOEFL, which you need to score 100 over 120. For registration process, what's usually involved is not different from other professionals, only that you don't need to write exams if you are to present, I mean, if you are to manage the way you present your curriculum, your clinical experience, and all that. So usually there are three layers of assessment that is involved for these professionals. And if you fail in the first stage, you have to prove yourself in the second stage. Okay, four stages, depending on what happens. The first one is submit your documents, your clinical hours, all the documents that are involved, and then they assess it. And if that is good enough by the assessment, you get registered. If that is not good enough, they ask you for further proof. Usually, they ask you to write, prepare clinical case scenario. That is what it should be, but they call it case study. So that is some kind of confusing for those of us that trained in Nigeria, but they want you to like uh, give account of three cases usually. And a lot of people find it difficult because the practice in Nigeria or elsewhere in Africa or some other places listening to us from Asia are a little bit different from what obtains here in the UK. So that is where a whole lot of people find difficult. Then again, if you're not able to do that, you are now required to come in to write exam, which may further compound the whole thing. But most persons will usually get registered without going through the second and the third one. So that is the first straight professional route. Alternatively, you can come in to do your master's, your PhD, your pre-doctoral or postdoctoral fellowship while you navigate the system, which was the route I did for myself. Yeah. I want to look at what happens to spouses and family members if we have already had one. I'm sure that a whole lot of us might have that at the back of our mind. If I'm going through this process and I want to come in, what happens to my wife, my husband, and my children if we've got one? For each of these routes, be it the skilled worker route, either the healthcare visa, the global talent visa, or the tier 4, the post-study, or the pre-doctoral or postdoctoral, the MSc route, the PhD route. They are, provisions for one to travel with his or her spouse, depending on and each of them have some financial requirements. The cheapest of them, of course, is the healthcare visa, which is like trying to remove all hurdles for healthcare professionals to immigrate, and majority of us will be able to get through the healthcare visa, particularly beginning from January. Again, the global talent, which is like the most competitive of all because only selected few can get into the global talents. And how do we get into the global talent is just being highly exceptional in our profession, highly distinguished. They're looking for individuals who have made impact in their profession one way or the other. There are ways of applying to it. We'll come to this because it's route a whole lot of individuals has not explored, and is the one that gives you the fastest track to becoming a permanent resident and citizen. And most persons are not going through it. Even when they are qualified, they don't know. And this is where most of the research fellowships fall into. The tier 4 visa, of course, once you have a tier 4 visa, depending on if you have your sponsorship or you are self-sponsored, you can be eligible for your spouse and your children to come in with you if you have the money to support them. And of course, the post-study visa also are given to spouses and children. The same goes with postdoctoral. Some of the postdoctoral fellowship can come in under the global talent visa, whereas some of them could just come in as skilled workers program, depending on the type of postdoctoral fellowship one gets.